What is your point of reference? What is your point of reference as a man? What is your point of reference as a woman? What is your point of reference as a father, a mother? What is your point of reference for love, your career, your surroundings, self-respect, your goals? What is your point of reference? I'm talking to somebody out there. You have horrible taste in friends. You have horrible taste in picking boyfriends, girlfriends. You have horrible taste in trusting people. What is your point of reference? Because you're 21 and older doesn't make you a man. Because you're capable of making a child doesn't make you a mother or a father. If you've witnessed failure all your life, you're either going to decide to break the cycle, or without you being conscious of it, you're a part of the cycle. You have become a duplicate of your mother and your father. You have become a duplicate of everything and everybody that you grew up around. Because why? That is your point of reference. That is the blueprint. You have become your mother and father without you knowing. Here's a little secret. I don't drink, and I don't smoke, I don't do any type of drugs, ever. Because my life as a kid was consumed with all forms of alcohol and drug abuse. It completely turned me off. I decided I don't want to be like my mama or my daddy. People in my family, my boys, my homegirls, my surrounding, I want nothing to do with it. It's a conscious decision. Could have easily became a duplicate.
And I wonder how many people today are watching this message right now, and you're trying to do it like someone else. You're trying to be just like somebody else. You're just a copycat, and you're wondering, how come I feel stuck? How come I can't move forward? I got a feeling. Why don't you shed off that other person's armor, and why don't you walk it out the way God called you to walk it out? I am strong. I am talented. I am healthy, I am valuable. Those are not just positive affirmations. You just invoked a blessing on yourself. When you speak it out, you give life to what you're saying. It's not enough to just think this. You don't bless yourself by just dwelling on positive thoughts. Nothing happens until you speak. When you say, I am blessed, blessings come looking for you. When you say, I am prosperous, good breaks start heading your way. You have to say, I am confident before you're going to feel confident. If you'll say it long enough, what happens is those words get down in your spirit. You believe what you say about yourself more than what anyone else says about you. When you hear yourself day after day, I am healthy, I am talented, I am confident, I am valuable, it's changing how you see yourself. Over time, you're going to become what you're saying. You are who you are in part today because of what you've been speaking over your life.
And what you believe about what you can be, and what you believe about what you have inside of you, and what you believe about what God called you to do, and what you believe about what you're going through, that's what I'm talking about. The currency of confidence. So when you're young, you start borrowing confidence from the wrong places. You borrow confidence from sexual attractiveness. Partner after partner after partner after partner. And rather than ever being in a real relationship, the good part, where you have to love somebody for who they are, not what they look like, you take this feeling of, oh, I have somebody, and you borrow the confidence of having somebody. But when you borrow confidence from the wrong places, the interest rate is ridiculous. I'm talking about when you get in a relationship where you have to compromise your values to get your needs met. Y'all, that's worse than the check cash in place. It's an interest rate. And let me tell you another thing. While I got you fired up about all the people that you kept going to because you wanted them to validate you, but they can't because they're not God. They didn't make you. They don't know you like that. And they have their own insecurities. So leave them alone and get it from God. confidence from people who have insufficient funds. They can't do it. They can't.
As a man, my father was married to my mother for 30 years. I'll find myself looking for someone that reminds me of my mother, because that would be my point of reference. I will find myself trying to do all the things that I witnessed my father do as a husband. That's my point of reference. If my father is successful, he's an entrepreneur, he's constantly grinding, starting up new companies, negotiating, and I see him inspired and motivated all the time about life and career and trying to educate himself and further his way up the success ladder. That will become my blueprint and my point of reference for success. And I'll find myself wanting nothing more than to be a duplicate of my father, because that is my successful point of reference. Have you become a duplicate of your mother? Have you become a duplicate of your father? Have you become a duplicate of your parents, of your environment? See, I believe that we were all born individuals. God made me an individual. My head is not connected to anybody else. I am my own man. God made me individually me, so I can do and be and become anything I want to become. What is your point of reference?
Opposites in conflict. That seems to be the setup for a human adventure. One contesting against the other, vying for the territory. Would there be light without darkness? We probably wouldn't call it light. What gives us the value of one is the contrast of the other. But darkness is always trying to move in and take all the territory. But if you turn on the light, its energy starts to repel darkness. Darkness begins to move away. And the brighter the light, the further away the darkness must move. If you walk into a dark room and turn on the light, the darkness is what? Gone. But here's the point to remember, not very far. The darkness seems to be, yes, it's gone, but it's waiting for its chance. That if light loses its energy, darkness has a chance not to move back in. The better realistic illustrations, and that's health and illness at odds in your body. Illness trying its best to drive health into a small corner and occupy the territory. And health trying what? To push illness into a small corner. There's this contest going on. Who's going to occupy the territory? If one stays strong, the other is diminished. If the other gains in power, then the other is diminished. So what you must learn to do is cooperate with the positive side of everything in your body and your life. Sometimes we sabotage our own best interest. The body needs a banana, you send it a Coca-Cola. And the body says, what is the deal? I'm health trying to drive illness into a small corner. I ordered a banana, you sent me a Coca-Cola. So the body could rightfully say what? Whose side are you on? Give us a break. We need every tool we can get to keep illness at bay. Because if we get weak, I'm telling you, it moves in, takes territory. So we're in the middle of this contest. Here's what it's called, opposites in conflict. Here's one of the bigger conflicts, liberty and tyranny. Liberty is the absence of tyranny. But even though tyranny is conquered, it's not very far away. The same goes on in your bloodstream. Red corpuscles to nourish like a mother and give life. White corpuscles to fight and kill like a father. White corpuscles say, just show me some infection, I'll kill it. If I don't kill it, what? It killed you. Somebody's gonna get killed. In this contest, right? Good, evil, liberty, tyranny, right? Health, illness, winning and losing. There's a struggle going on. But here's the key. It's the only way, it seems, it's the only way to create a human adventure. Doesn't seem to be any other way, currently. Now some speak of a new heaven and a new earth. Maybe the whole arrangement will be different. Could very well be, but in this current experience, it seems like to create an adventure, create a unique human scenario, we need opposites in conflict. That's the deal. You've always got to draw a line somewhere and tell illness, hey, you can't have any more. You've got to throw up the barriers, draw a line in the sand. Tyranny cannot be rehabilitated. Tyranny can only be restored. We must play this game. We must fight this game. But here's what it creates: a great adventure. Let me give you the ultimate now. Could you win if you couldn't lose? And the answer is no, it doesn't seem like it. You couldn't call it winning. You can't win if you couldn't lose. So that's the deal now. Negative, positive. Would there be negative, positive without negative? No, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like this is the current setup.
The invisible is often more real than the visible. That sometimes the stuff that we collect, that we say is real, is less real than the stuff that we neglect because we can't see it. I'm talking about your state of mind. I'm talking about your relationships with others. I'm talking about the way that you process disappointment, those things, the way that you treat people who can't do anything for you, those things. You have this visible kingdom world, but there is an invisible kingdom within you that is more important than the kingdom around you.
Set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames. Don't be hanging with no jank-ass jokers that don't help you shine. The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame. There's been very few times in my life that I looked left or looked right and didn't find a person who believed and supported me. There's always been a person beside me fanning my flames. Look at your last 5 text messages. Are those people feeding your flames or dousing your fire? The people that you spend time with are going to make or break your dreams. Everybody don't deserve to be around you. Look to the people around you. Are those people throwing logs on your fire or are they pissing on it? You got to defend your light with your life.
If you can't detach from yourself, then you can't see yourself. And so how do you detach from yourself? How do you learn to do that? And a good drill for this is try to imagine the way other people see you and what other people are thinking of you. One place where this happens, and it definitely happened to me, is when I started getting put in charge of things, I started thinking about other people's perspectives. If you're in charge, then what kind of representation are they receiving? And if you work for someone else, it's the same questions. What does the boss see me do? What kind of representation am I making of myself to my boss? So the question becomes, how well do you represent yourself? What shortfalls do you have? Now, when you first start looking, it's like you're looking at an overgrown lawn. There are some big, obvious problems, so you do a broad, just kind of general cut of the grass. You fix some of the big, easy problems. But once you've done that, once you've gotten rid of some of those big, obvious problems, you notice some more detailed problems. So you start trying to fix them.
You know, for the foreseeable future, it looks like it's been that way as long as we can remember and as long as the history tells us. So here's what you want to do if you want the adventure. You must learn to play this game, to work with all the positive forces to defeat the negative forces as early and as soon and as much as possible, to contain the ravages of disease that want to take you early. You got to fight back. You can't just leave it. Somebody says, well, I got my fingers crossed. Not a good philosophy. Jump on the positive side of whatever you want and see if you can't help out in this warfare, in this push-shove match. That's the key. Don't neglect a new life if you've started a new life. What if you said to a brand new mother, where is your baby? She says, I have no idea. You would say, no, that isn't right. If you start a new life, you must care for it. You must protect it. You must give it life, give it nourishment. Now here's the other part. You must protect it. That's why the old wise man said, we must learn to love and hate. So underline that. You must learn to love and hate. And the illustration he used was, you must learn to love good and hate evil. To deal with the weeds in your garden, you got to hate weeds. You got to hate them enough to what? Kill them. You can't say, well, poor weeds. Say, no, this ain't the deal, poor weeds. Don't go soft on this stuff now. You got to hate evil. You got to hate the weeds that are out to destroy your garden and rob your children of the nourishment they deserve. You got to take the life of the weeds, or they will take the life of your garden. Somebody's going to get killed. Remember? So, learn the good evil. Now, here's the greatest battle in the mind. Here's what you must not become: a victim of yourself. What is that insidious voice inside your own head that says, you're too short, it'll never work for you, you're too tall, right? It's over for you, right? It's never worked for you before. What gives you any idea that it'll work for you now? You've never been able to rise up and take charge of your life. What makes you think you can do it now? There's going to be too many obstacles out there. You'll never overcome them all. What is that insidious voice? It's the same game going on inside your head that's going on in the world. Liberty and tyranny in a push-shove match. And here's what you've got to do. Cooperate with the positive side of your life and let faith drive out doubt, right? Let winning drive out losing. Let positive drive out negative. But you got to get into the contest. And why get into the contest? Because that's how you create an adventure. There is no other way. It takes both. You've got to learn to laugh, yes, but that's not what the wise men only said. You can't just learn to laugh and keep on laughing. No, that's silly. It says there's also a time to cry. You've got to learn to both laugh and cry. Then it said you must be so sophisticated as not to laugh when it's time to cry. That now gives you an understanding of what life is all about. Sadness and joy, the contest, the difference. And yet it creates the adventure. It takes both to create an adventure. But here's the adventure: to overcome the evil, to put evil in its place. Just like in your mind, you've got to stand guard at the door of your mind and see if you can't suppress, see if you can't do battle with the negative forces. Don't become a victim of yourself. Beware of the thief on the street that's after your purse. But also beware of the thief in your mind that's after your promise. And see if you can't engage in this mental contest and win the day. Setting goals. When I started making my first list, Mr. Shope said, Mr. Rohn, said, I've got a suggestion for you. He said, I think one of the first goals you ought to set, you're a 25-year-old American male, sure you've made some mistakes, but now you're on the road to better things. He said, why don't you, among all the goals you're going to set, said, why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? A millionaire. Why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? He said, it's got a nice ring to it. And he said, here's why. Now I thought, the man doesn't need to teach me why. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have $1 million? He said, no, that's not it. Here's why. For what it will make of you to achieve it. And I got one of the greatest classes in one sentence I've ever received in my life. Set a goal that'll make you stretch that far. For what it will make of you to achieve it. What a brand new reason for setting goals. What an all-encompassing challenge to have a better vision of the future. What for? To see what it will make of you to achieve. And here's why. The greatest value in life is not what you get. The greatest value in life is what you become. Major question to ask on the job is not, what am I getting here? Major question to ask is, what am I becoming here? It's not what you get that makes you valuable, it's what you become that makes you valuable. Then he said, when you finally have become a millionaire, now, he said, what's important is not the money. I thought, wow, I've got some more to learn. He said, no, Mr. Rohn, I'm telling you honestly, you could just give the money away. Now, I did better than that, right? I told you. I lost it all. I'm rich by the time I'm 31. I'm a millionaire. I'm broke by the time I'm 33. Foolish mistakes I made. But what an experience that was. And I'm telling you, the man was right.
When I finally was broke at age 33, guess what I discovered? My money did not mean that much. It represented only a fraction of all my assets. Shoaff said, once you become a millionaire, Mr. Rohn, you can give all the money away. Because he says, what's important is not the money. What's important is the person you become. Now, let me give you the key phrase on setting goals. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Always keep that in mind. What will this make of me? If I set this goal and go for it, not only will I achieve it, but what will it make of me in the process? What a whole new concept on setting goals. Don't set your goals too low. Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the pressure's on to perform, to grow, to change, to develop, to read, to study, to develop skills. The guy says, well, I don't need much. Well, then you don't need to become much.
Many of us are pretty comfortable in our life. We've got a reasonably good income. The mortgage is paid. There's food in the fridge. We've got a nice warm bed to sleep in. And everything seems to be floating along just fine. And you know, a person in that position could very easily think, why would I want to do anything to change this? Well, we have found that if your life is not going in one direction, it absolutely, by law, must be moving in another direction. Many of us have established a comfort zone in our lives. We're just coasting along, taking the line of least resistance, just getting by. We've all worked hard to get to where we are, and it may seem a very good place to be. The problem with this is that once we stop reaching, stretching, seeking, and risking, we actually stop growing. The comfort zone frame of mind is settling for what we are today. That may be fine today, but without continued growth, and I believe this is the key line coming up, we are now all we are ever going to be. If you're in a comfort zone, beware. The danger of a comfort zone is that it doesn't hurt, and it might even feel good. Many take that to mean it's a good place to be, but it's not. A comfort zone may be what is holding you back from real growth, real accomplishment, and your potentially exciting and rewarding future. Now, I've mentioned if we're not going in one direction, we must by law be going in another direction. You're either creating or you're disintegrating. Whenever we hear a person say, I like it just the way it is, we know that person is advertising their ignorance of a very basic law of life, because absolutely nothing stays the way it is. We, I think, have been raised to believe that education is going to school for a certain number of years and be able to correctly answer a series of questions. But you know, many people will go to school all their life and be able to correctly answer the questions, but then when it comes to getting out into the marketplace and really making it happen, they just don't know how to compete. Many are withdrawn. They don't even feel comfortable meeting or greeting a stranger. Now, I think you know, and I know, that if we're going to improve, we have to have a very open mind. I once heard that an open mind was being prepared to throw away some of our most cherished beliefs when a better idea comes along. Now, you'll find that the vast majority of people seems to back into the future, dragging all of their old experience with them. When they're confronted with a new idea, they ask, does it fit? If it doesn't, then they say it's wrong. Now, what we want to do is ask ourselves, would this new idea improve the quality of my life, or would it get me going in the other direction? Everyone, without exception, has been born with tremendous resources lying within them. We've got deep reservoirs of talent and ability. And through following right rules and natural laws, we're going to find that we can draw that potential to the surface, and we can bring it to bear, and it will cause the manifestation of prosperity in our material world. Decide what you want, write it on a card, carry the card in your pocket, and read it. Now, keep in mind, I was earning $4,000. I owed $6,000. I was sitting in a fire hall at the time. And I wrote on the card that I was going to have in my possession by New Year's Day of 1970, $25,000. Now, I wrote that on the card in 1960. You know, the idea of having $25,000, it was sort of a fantasy. I don't think there was $25,000 in the whole fire hall at the time. Now, I wrote that in the card in 1960. Keep in mind, I gave myself a decade to pull this deal off. I really didn't believe it was going to happen. But I found out a couple of things. I found if you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. William James, back around the turn of the century, he said, believe, and your belief will actually create the fact. Well, I did what he suggested. I read this card every day. I'd carry it around and I'd just keep reading it. Now, something very funny happened to me. 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. Now, that was not supposed to happen. See, everything I'd been taught since I was a little boy indicated that if you don't go to school, you can't win. If you don't have business experience, you can't win. I had not gone to school. My second month in high school, they asked me to leave. I'll never forget how happy I was when they made that decision. But here I was. I was 16. I had very little knowledge. I had absolutely no skills. And at the very best, my attitude was poor. What chance did I have? I really didn't have any. But I didn't know that. And I found that it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You may not have a colorful background, and maybe you have. You may not have a lot of formal education, and maybe you have. But it really doesn't matter. If you've got a goal and you're willing to stick to it and study the laws, you're going to find out that you can win.
That it's necessary for us to begin to look at the future and know that it's possible that we can have our dream. Yes, it is. Other people have done it, then we can do it. We fail a lot of times. Well, a lot of other folks fail, and eventually they came back and they succeeded. So it's possible we can have what we want. And that we align ourselves with people that think like we do. It's necessary we get negative, do-nothing people out of our lives. It's necessary we never stop learning and growing and developing ourselves. It's necessary that we never give up, that we're going to keep on keeping on, that we're going to find a way to win or find a way to make it happen. And we know it's hard. It's not going to be a picnic. It's hard. It's hard. And we will do it hard. And once we do it hard and we go through it, we realize it was worth it. And once you discover it was worth it, it is done.